When I had a 5-acre farm, I was kind of known as the tomato lady because I grew about 350 to 60 foot rows of tomatoes every year. So much so that I had to give away to so many friends who just came and picked my tomatoes for free. So now my goal here is to take this space and this raised bed, we will create a tomato wall. I'll show an image above of what it looked like before, but basically I align this with the sunlight so that the tomatoes do not shade the rest of my bed and that I can have a full wall of tomatoes growing in the back, utilizing a little space but getting a huge harvest. Let's go. So from this post to this post is south facing. So this whole row of tomatoes will get exposed to the sunlight and not shade anything that's growing in front of it. First, some things you want to consider when planting tomatoes. They're not as hard as they're made out to be. Spacing for tomatoes is generally about 24 inches away from each other, but I am doing it in a raised bed, so I'm putting them, they're all spaced about 18 inches apart right now. Some of them are a little closer to 20 inches apart. You also want to be aware if you're using determinate or indeterminate tomatoes. Determinate tomatoes will essentially grow to a certain height and then stop. Those are really good to use cages for, but I'm also going to trellis these as well. And then indeterminate tomatoes will grow as long as they can until the frost, so they are really going to grow up high and you're gonna want to trellis those. So I have a mix. I have basically all indeterminate tomatoes, and then I had 3 Repreco, which are determinate tomatoes, and I'll use those for making sauces. And always you are going to want to wait to plant tomatoes outside until after last frost because they do not like the cold weather. Every time I plant my tomatoes, I always put a good amount of compost in the hole. I dig it out to a big hole, put compost, and then I'm also going to give them some extra calcium by using some baked and dried out eggshells. This is going to give them calcium throughout the growing season to hopefully prevent any blossom end rot. If you're new to tomatoes, tomatoes require a lot of calcium, so it's a good idea to supplement with calcium. You probably will need to, depending on your soil type. And they also like to use magnesium, so you'll see a lot of people plant their tomatoes with Epsom salts, which is magnesium sulfate. Now, if you have leggy tomatoes and they have grown too tall, tomatoes are one plant that you can actually bury deep. So if I technically wanted to, I could bury my tomato plant all the way up to here and bury this portion of the tomato plant, and this will start to grow roots. That is one amazing thing about tomatoes. And my first tomato of the season has been planted. I am so happy. And these are being planted amongst some miner's lettuce, so this will actually shade the miner's lettuce. That way my miner's lettuce can go all throughout the summer without getting too hot. So here we will also have around a 10-foot tomato wall extending from here back to that wooden post right there. And so my sunlight is coming from over here in the morning and setting over there in the evening. So during the morning hours for I think about the first 4 to 5 hours of the day, this tomato wall will shade the front of this bed. So I'm going to select the appropriate vegetables and herbs to plant in front of that wall. That way I don't get small harvests because they aren't getting ample sunlight. We're quickly going to trellis our tomatoes with the Florida weave because right now the wind is a blowing.